From Relay FM, this is Connected, episode number 47. Today's show is brought to you by lynda.com, where you can instantly stream thousands of courses created by industry experts, Hover, simplified domain management, and Fracture, photos printed in vivid color directly on glass. My name is Mike Hurley, and I am joined by Mr. Stephen Hackett of 512pixels.net. Hello, Stephen Hackett.
Hello, Michael Hurley.
How are you?
I'm good. Big week for me. How are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. And from MacStories.net, the one and only Mr. Federico Vitici.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. I survived the Italian heat.
I survived the London heat.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Why?
I mean, you get like half of the sun.
All right.
Up there.
What was your temperature last week?
Like, well, it depends. Because if you ask me about Rome, it was kind of like 38 degrees. At the beach, I think it was like hotter. But you know, I could swim in the sea.
All right. Well, we were at 37 with 100% humidity.
Yeah. But,
no,
I mean,
the temperature's the same. Come on, give this to me, Federico. We had the heat wave. It's the hottest it has ever been in July, ever.
You don't get the sun as nicely as you get it here. Like the shape of the sun, I think it's different.
Come on.
Yeah.
What is this you're giving me? Well, we got the triangle sun in London.
No, you got like a waxing moon. You know.
Like you're talking about the sun. Where's the moon coming to?
No,
this?
But it misses a portion of the sun because it's written. You know, it's different. I think so. Yeah.
But isn't the sun the bit that people want? So like, I got all of the temperature and none of the sun.
I read it in a book, so it must be true.
Did you write the book?
No.
Okay. Anyway.
so let's do some follow up, as the order of Connected requires us to each and every week.
Mm-hmm.
We have some follow up, Federico, from a fellow countryman of yours, whose name is beyond my capacity to pronounce.
No. Just try.
Giacomo.
Almost, Mike.
Giacomo?
No, it's Giacomo.
Oh, you were close.
Almost, Steven. Basically, one thing that Americans always do when they see this kind of word in Italian is they try to say Gia, but it's just Gia. You know, you don't say the Gia. It's Giacomo.
I was trying to be overly fancy, and it came back and bit
yeah,
me.
Mike, you almost sound like a French person. I don't know why you try to do that.
Well, I guess I got that going for me.
Yeah.
The reference, in case you won't get. So, this follow-up is really interesting, and I thought it's sort of a crossover between Connected and Virtual, the video game show that you guys do. And so, assuming a future iPhone/iPad will have Force Touch and the Taptic Engine on the whole screen, which the rumors as late as today and yesterday say the next iPhones will have, would it be cool if they used it to simulate the feeling of a button press in games? With it, so you have a similar feeling or feedback, like pressing a physical button without having the actual button.
I don't know
so,
about this.
Yeah, I mean, so I've used haptic feedback turned on Android phones. So often you can have it turned on the keyboard. And the problem with this, and the problem in my mind with Force Touch and haptic feedback on iOS in general, is that unless they have some magic that I don't know about, I don't know how they make it feel localized, like under where you touch. So like if the phone just vibrates when you touch it, that's not really like a button press. It's just like the phone vibrated when you touched it. It's not a, you know what I mean? Like it feels sort of disconnected from the action that caused it.
Yeah.
Where on the watch, it's so small that phenomenon doesn't take place.
Well, let's say that there was even some magic, like where you could do that. So let's say you had a little circular area of the touchscreen that was the button, and if you pressed on that area, it felt like you tapped that area. It still doesn't actually help anything, because the buttons are good because you can feel them before you press them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what's good about the buttons on a controller, is your thumb or your fingers can find them and then you press them, without needing to look at where they are. And so it actually wouldn't really enhance the game experience in any way. It would all it would just feel like is you're pushing in on a touchscreen. Like, it doesn't actually help with the problems that iOS platformers face. Is like you don't know where the buttons are without looking at them.
Yeah, the big part of the game consoles is that you can rest your hands on the controller, and you can just, by memory alone, you can just play a game if you know the controls. And if Apple does this kind of haptic feedback on iOS, like I was thinking about the possible implementations for video games, and I kept thinking, Mike, we discussed this game on virtual before. I envision like something like Tearaway on the PS Vita, which is the portable PlayStation console by Sony. There's a rear touchpad in the back of the console, and basically it's a touch-enabled pad on the back, and if you in this game, which is called Tearaway by Media Molecule, it's an excellent game. If you try to basically press your finger against this touchpad, there's like a simulation on the screen, and you see like a fake finger in the game kind of reaching out from the back of the game. And I mean, this kind of mechanic, right, that you have, like this sense of pressure. I mean, the PS Vita doesn't have any sort of haptic feedback, but they kind of faked it with touch alone, and I think it's really well done. And if iOS gets this kind of feature with the next iPhone and the next iPad, I think that in video games, rather than trying to emulate the feel of controllers for consoles, we'll see this kind of games that like they let you press on objects and like environments inside the game through the touch screen using haptic feedback as a sort of, feedback to, let you know that you're actually pressing into the game. So I don't think it can be like a physical controller, but I think we will see new mechanics in video games and apps, of course.
Haptic feedback and the Taptic engine will make the iPhone feel like an iPhone with a rumble pack. That's the closest that it will be. Yeah. It will feel like, when you have a video game controller and it rumbles and vibrates and shakes the controller. That's what it will be closer to, rather than actually making it feel like buttons. So the game will be able to, in theory, shake the device, or input that you make on the game shakes the device, as opposed to it actually not ever, but at least in the near future, being able to feel like you are applying pressure to a specific point of the screen. That's how I see it. I mean, who knows what magic, but I would be very surprised if that's what we got in a few months' time.
Yeah, I think that knowing what we know about how it works now, I mean, I've got a Force Touch trackpad on this MacBook Pro that's like right here that I'm talking it to. And it, if you've used one, it's definitely bigger than the watch. But again, you don't have that sense of like location with it, that the whole thing just sort of clicks or vibrates under your finger, and it's not quite the same. So I agree with what you guys said, and even though my game experience isn't nearly what y'all's is, the Rumble Pack really, that makes more sense to me than this sort of thing. But who knows? And I mean, it will only evolve and get better. So maybe at some point they can do something more interesting with it. So the remainder of the follow-up is about Apple Music, which of course we're going to talk some more about later on, but we had some follow-up from last week. So listener Ryan wrote in, and Ryan said, how many people actually need to continue to listen to Beats One on a regular basis to help it attain a level of global connectedness? So we've talked about it last week, people on Twitter saying, hey, I'm listening to this. What do you think about this? Commenting on Beats One as it's happening, and of course talked about radio and how that's a very old phenomenon, and youngsters are just now rediscovering it. So I think Ryan's getting at is like, can't Beats One ever break out of just like the Apple community, where like if you think about maybe like my parents, they grew up in a time where like you sat down and watched the evening news. I mean, I even did it as a kid, some like the evening news was on, and then you go to work the next day and everybody saw the evening news. Like it truly was universally common that everyone knew what was going on with that specific thing. Can Beats One ever achieve that sort of thing?
I don't know if anything ever can in the same way, because one of the reasons that like radio was so capturing of everyone is because it was one of the only entertainment mediums, and now we are overwhelmed with entertainment mediums. You can just pick what medium you want and however you want to watch it and do it in your own way. I think that there is a potential for it to do something that's like it, but it's never going to attain the status that radio in its heyday had. It just doesn't feel like it could be possible, because if you want to have some light entertainment at 7 p.m. on a Sunday evening, you could watch a movie, or you could watch the TV, or you could watch Netflix or Hulu, or you could play the PlayStation. There are so many other things that are happening. But what I have seen, it has been interesting as the week has unfolded. Every now and then, I see people talking about either things that are happening right now on Beats, or I saw them there were tweets like an hour ago, and I saw someone mention a song or mention a playlist or something like that. So I think it is still happening, but it's maybe a little bit too early days to see if it will continue. But I don't think it could ever achieve the heady heights of radio.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to listen to Zane as much as possible, depending on my schedule. I feel like it's interesting to think about Beats One when we think about the car and transportation in general. And it feels to me that Apple has a very big play when it comes to trying to control the listening experience in the car. And you see that with a bunch of features like CarPlay and, Siri controls and Apple Music and all this integration with voice and Siri. And, even the Apple Watch makes it easier to kind of, control whatever is being played by the iPhone in your car on your wrist. And I feel like I remember when I was younger, I would just get in the car. My parents were driving, and they put on the radio just because it was easy to do so, and you didn't have to to fiddle with to choose. Back in the day, my father didn't have a CD player. He had a tape player in the car, and it was awful to press and hold the fast forward control, because in the music cassettes you couldn't just go to a specific song. You had to kind of roll the tape and remember where you were. And so the radio was easier because you could program a bunch of different shows, and you could just click a button to go to that show, and there would be somebody who would put on music for you. And I feel like, compared to today, the problem, the technology is different, the amount of media is different, but the problem is still the same. We have so many songs available, we have so many entertainment options, like you said, Mikey. You can even sit back in the car and just watch a YouTube video on your phone. But we have so many options that maybe every once in a while, it is nice to kind of press a button and there's someone who takes care of entertainment for you, and in this case it's music. But I agree, it's difficult to imagine with all these options that radio is gonna be huge, like the default way of being entertained over radio with audio and music again. But it is nice with all these services, we can stream all these songs, we can search, we can have playlists, we can go to YouTube and Vivo channels, we can play video games, we can do all this stuff. But maybe sometimes you just want to have someone else take care of that for you. I don't know.
No, I think that's fair, and I think that it is an interesting question of what what it would take to be truly that the heights of older media.
I guess it'll be interesting to see if it truly is worldwide, always on. Beats One.
It's kind of always on. It's kind of live also.
Worldwide?
Worldwide, yeah, it is worldwide.
It's worldwide, okay.
Yeah,
That's what the next piece of follow-up is about. It's like you guys have access to the same document I have. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. Telepathy, I guess.
I can see your little faces up there on the top of the Google Doc.
That's not me. It's not me. Must be someone else.
Man, the names this week are the struggle.
Janos.
Janos.
It's like a Spanish Jason.
So Spanish Jason writes in, I'd like to know what your experience about the Beats One schedule is. I find it frustrating because I don't understand how they fail to integrate the schedule with any sort of calendaring or reminder feature. I'd like to check out some of my shows and want my device to alert me when a specific show is on so I can catch it in my time zone. So what do you guys think about this? I've not spent much time at all with Beats One, so I will leave this to the two of you to discuss.
Yeah, I can't believe there's not push notifications for shows.
Yeah. Yeah, Spanish Jason has a point.
It does.
I mean, you can tap on the Beats One artwork on iOS, and you see kind of a schedule, but it's
it only
not a full
shows like
schedule.
the next 10 or 11 hours. And
Like I wanna go there and say, okay, next Wednesday at my 4 p.m. in
Awesome.
Rome,
Yeah.
what am I gonna be able to listen to? You know, that kind of calendar. You cannot do that. I mean, you can kind of, I guess, listen worldwide, always on, and try to make a note because they kind of pre-announce shows, and you can also use Twitter to kind of stay on top of the programs coming onto Beats One. But yeah, I was surprised actually at least like a calendar file that you download and you keep on your device. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a calendar, a better at least 24 hours in the app, and push notifications for your favorite shows. Like that feels like that should be in here. And I'd like to think that these are things that they will add. I mean, but it's again, it's that old thing. It's like, well, until you really know how people are interacting with the service is like when you'll understand. Because it's not even. So they replay shows. They have like 12 hours of content, but they don't play the shows every 12 hours. So like Elton John's Rocket Hour, which was amazing, by the way, it was broadcast at first at 3 a.m. London time and then 2 p.m. London time. Like, so you can't even guess that. Like, you know, it's just
It's like a random number.
And do you know how I found that? I went to eltonjohn.com. And they'd written a blog post about it, talking about how this isn't a podcast; it can only be listened to when it's live.
Why do they choose those times? It's like a bingo machine for schedules.
I know. And then they have the Tumblr, right? But the Tumblr again only shows like a limited amount of time into the future. It's really difficult to try and work it out, and if they really want people to tune in to different radio shows, which they clearly do, because otherwise they wouldn't have all of these cool people, they need to get better about this. Because the playlists that they have are great. So you can search in like the search tab for a specific host of any show, and you can go to their Connect page, and it has playlists that are put up maybe like a day or so after the show airs of the tracks that they played. But you don't get the stories, and that was one of my favorite bits about Elton John's shows. He was talking about like how him and Brandon Flowers are friends, and he would talk about like a specific artist and why he thought that they were a really cool artist, that kind of thing. Which, again, like my whole reason for why I was so excited about this, and I've been talking about it like nonstop on Upgrade about how excited I've been about this show, is that Elton John is a huge music guy. And it really came through in his show, and I loved it. I just loved it. Check out the playlist. I'll find a link for the playlist and I'll put it in the show notes, because the playlist itself is just great. But that is one I would say definitely look out for if you can, because I think it's just going to continue to be awesome.
And like also about the story that you don't get with the playlists, St. Vincent mixtape delivery service.
Yep.
I thought that was really cute, and
yeah, because she calls a fan, right? That's how it works.
You can go to her Facebook page, and you kind of submit an application of sorts, like you describe how music. I think I read an article about this. You describe how music and a mixtape could like make your life better at this point of your life and why. And so I think like yesterday's episode was about. An American girl who just graduated from college, and she was on a road trip with her grandmother, who was a truck driver. Totally awesome.
Wow. See, this is the thing, right? Now, they're creating all this great content, but you've got to make it so people know when to tune into it. And whilst I would like there to be just podcasts of it or whatever, I get why there isn't. And there's something that's quite nice about the fact that they don't exist in that way. That you have like 2 or 3 attempts to listen to them. But they need to make it so I can at least know in good advance, maybe a day or two in advance when they're going to play. And when they do come on, I want to be notified about it in case I've forgotten, so I don't have to add it to my calendar. Like, there is now an entry in my calendar for 2 p.m. every Tuesday for Elton John. And I'm expecting that that's when it will be broadcast every week, but I literally have no idea. So, work to do, but yeah, work to do.
So, speaking of, content that is repeatable and you can listen to on your own, podcasts are sort of like a quarter step into the Apple Music universe. So there are several links in the show notes. One from a Reddit thread, one from Twitter, about people. For instance, you can love a podcast in iTunes, but that's kind of just doesn't go anywhere. It seems it's a little confusing, and maybe we're seeing some stuff that Apple didn't mean to show. Maybe eventually you can recommend podcast or, like them. Say, hey, I like Connected and Upgrade. You would probably like Debug, and Debug would, show up in For You, for instance. I am excited about this as someone who now makes their living on podcasts. That
Oh yeah, you do.
Having that discoverability, and I think would be interesting. But it seems not even half baked yet. So
it's especially interesting when you consider that Apple bought the company Swell, I think it's called, last year for like $30 million, according to TechCrunch. And this was like an iPhone app that kind of the curation for podcast episodes, kind of like Beats Music for radio programs and podcasts. And it's interesting when you consider like, it's one thing to recommend an album or a song because you know the history of music. Can you really do the same for podcasts? Do you know the history of podcasts? Like, if Mike makes a joke on Connected, do you have the knowledge to recommend a show where the same joke was made by Mike 2 months ago? Like, it's different when we talk about curation for this kind of stuff, right? And like, if Apple really wants to control also this space, right, to make intelligent recommendations for podcasts, do you like look at descriptions? So do you recommend shows and episodes, not just entire shows, but episodes each morning, like for people who commute or maybe drive and want to listen to a podcast? Do you recommend a single episode depending on the description, what the topics they cover? Do you have a team of people listening to podcasts all day long? That sounds like a terrible job, especially if your job is to listen. I mean, it's not like I don't like you. It's just that sometimes you're too much, you know? I mean, can you imagine like listening to yourself as a job for like 5 days a week?
It's kind of what I do, though.
What I do. I listen to Mike 5 days a week.
Yeah, but that's just living your life. Can you imagine living your life as someone else? You know? Like, there's a person in Cupertino whose job is to listen to Mike all day long. I mean,
there are people that listen to the submissions for new shows.
Every single episode.
They check out every podcast that's submitted to iTunes.
What do you mean by check out?
So every time somebody submits a brand new podcast to iTunes, so they say, I want to have a podcast on the iTunes store.
Okay.
Right? That is listened to by a human before it is allowed to be submitted into the iTunes store.
Only the first episode.
Only the first episode. So there's that at least.
I don't know. It's the entire concept of doing curation for podcasts sounds, I don't know. There's something that I don't get. Like,
I don't think that they bought this company for podcasts.
Yeah,
I feel like they bought them for their technology to use it on music.
Probably. I don't know. The idea is interesting, right? Because if my interests are, I don't know, technology and video games, you can kind of serve me with episodes that talk about that kind of stuff. But is that any different from just making my own list of podcasts and just picking the episodes that I want to listen to? I don't know. Podcasts are not like music. So curation, if it's really a thing that's going to happen, it's going to be different, obviously. So I don't know.
We will see how that goes. I mean, I agree with you. The curation stuff is potentially harder, but I know, like in Overcast, you can recommend an episode, and I find a lot of good shows to check out based on that. And so I think there was something there. I agree with you. It might not be to the same like level of detail that it is in music, but we'll see how it goes. Someone else just chimed in, I think, in the chat room that you can also like movies and TV shows. So it may just be that iTunes got really happy with the love action, and it's just everywhere, and you can love anything you want, but it doesn't really mean anything. So this might not actually mean anything, but I thought it was interesting to talk about as the three of us podcast and do that sort of thing for a living. So
when somebody loved one of our shows, it beachboard iTunes.
That seems about right, honestly. I wasn't even going to mention it. I just assume when we talk about iTunes, people know that beach balling is what's going on. So,
can you actually love iTunes itself?
No, as an iTunes user,
that's impossible, right?
I do really like the new icon, though. I know that's controversial. I love the new icon.
Very nice.
I love it. Yeah, I
Me
love
too.
it. Yeah. Someone
Feels
said,
like we're making a confession. We all love the icon. What's going on here?
I think I saw somebody say that it kind of looks like, when there's like oil in water and it has that like rainbow to it.
Yeah. Is there a German word for that?
Oil in water? Yeah, probably.
Like Schaden-Euland? I don't know. It probably is one.
Oh gosh. Okay, so
let me take a break. How about I take a break?
Please.
This week's episode is brought to you by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. You can grab yourself a free 10-day trial or visit lynda.com/connected. That's lynda.com/connected. Lynda.com is for people that want to learn awesome stuff and who want to be taught by top experts. These top experts they are super passionate about teaching, and they are there on hand to teach you whatever you want to learn. Maybe you want to learn design, maybe you want to learn development, maybe you want to learn photography or business skills, marketing skills. The list goes on and on and on. Lynda.com is here to help you solve problems. It's here to help feed your curious mind and make things happen to you. Maybe you want to learn software products, maybe you want to learn how to use your camera better. Basically, you pick it. Lynda.com has a course on it. And the best way to find this out for yourself is to go and take advantage of that free trial. And whilst you're there, you'll be able to stream any of the thousands of video courses on demand, and you can learn at your own schedule, at your own pace. And I know that you're just going to love the content that you find, because their courses are really greatly produced, and they're broken down and structured into such a way that you can enjoy them from start to finish or consume them in just bite-sized chunks. You're able to also create and save playlists of the favorite courses and pieces that you like, and you can customize your own learning path and share this with people like friends, colleagues, and or team members as well if you want to. You can even watch and download courses to your Android or iOS device to allow you to learn wherever you want to learn. Your lynda.com membership will give you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. Whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, I want you to go and visit lynda.com/connected, that's lynda.com/connected, and sign up for your free 10-day trial. Thank you so much to lynda.com for their support of this show.
Sweet.
So you had some news this week.
I did.
I was talking to Federico. He had a really great espresso.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about the espresso?
Well, it was really creamy, especially today, because of the heat. I think the reaction between the heat and the coffee beans makes for a better espresso, I also, I was drinking my espresso, and I was, casually scrolling my Twitter client.
Mm-hmm.
I was I came across this guy, this Steven guy. He's like, I'm going India. I'm like, whatever. So,
Congratulations, Stephen.
Yeah.
We're so happy for you.
Thanks.
Do you want to tell the people that might not know what we're talking about?
I can really just think about Federico's, the way he very sensually described his coffee.
Creamy espresso.
Yeah. So, so there's 2 links in the show notes. Mike, where could people find these show notes?
relay.fm/connected/47.
Ooh, those numbers are getting high. So, so at the end of July, I will be leaving my 9-to-5 job. It's actually interesting. I got a lot of emails from people saying, I didn't know you had a job. Like, they thought I was just doing this full-time already.
You're just a podcasting hobo.
Yeah, it feels like it. So I'll be joining the 2 of you, actually, in independent content creator trademark.
Wow, so fancy.
Life. I hate that. I hate everything about that phrase. So I'll be working on Relay and 512 and some freelance stuff. All right, for the Sweet Setup, and going to be running at iMore some. I'll be joining that world of people who work for themselves, which is very exciting. And I've been doing this a long time. 512 Pixels will turn 7 this year, so it's been a slow burn, but it's here, and I'm excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. So it's like I want to ask you, like, sounds like a joke, but it's not. I'm trying to be serious here. With all this content creation that you're gonna do, and especially moving from a day job to working from home and trying to be independent and all that, have you thought about like the disruption of your schedule, like how you're gonna organize all the things that you do, how you're gonna work, and trying to set boundaries and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's actually been a large part of what I've been doing the last couple of weeks. So right now I work 9 to 5-ish, and then I podcast in the evenings, or I take care of Relay stuff. Like I do a good bit of the admin work for Relay that's happening after hours or on weekends, and so obviously that stuff will shift to the day, which is great. But I have been thinking a lot about what does it mean to work on all these different things, and I don't want to be in the situation I'm in now, where basically I just work 7 days a week, some days like 12 hours a day. Obviously, I don't quite know how it's going to work out. I'm sure things that I will say today will be hilariously inaccurate in a year or in 3 weeks even.
You're going to work so much more you don't even know.
No, I know. I know I will still work those hours.
You have no idea what you're throwing yourself into.
Yeah. So today, Mike and I had a phone call earlier, and he was like, yeah, I have a list of things for you to do. I was like, oh.
Because since Steven made the decision, he's been thinking about how am I going to structure my day, and I've been thinking about what are all the jobs I can give him.
Yeah. So the big thing for me is just going to be keeping up with my time, and so I've already moved to this somewhat, but having like lots of like if I am working on Relay admin time takes X number of hours a week, and having that on the schedule as Relay admin time from 3 to 5, and having things tracked in a way where not only I know what's going on, but if something comes in. If I get an invite to do something or something changes at the last minute, I'm not accidentally overriding anything else. I think it's going to be important because I'm not just doing Relay, I'm doing these other things as well. So I think that calendar bit is going to be important. And I've always been a big calendar user. So that's not like a new workflow for me, but it will be something that, I explore a little bit more. And then, relying on OmniFocus. We spoke about it a while back. We all three of us at some point were using Todoist, and for me, I just needed something a little bit more structure. So I'll be working in OmniFocus to help reflect my new responsibilities a little bit better. But really trying to keep up with when things are due, when I'm going to be doing them, and just staying on top of it. I think there's still going to be a lot of moving pieces, and I don't want anything to fall between the cracks.
What about the iPad?
So the iPad's interesting, and we're going to talk about iOS 9, I think, a little bit today. If not today, definitely next week. I see the iPad becoming more useful potentially in some of that scheduling and task management stuff. So I will be working from home, but I'm also setting up a space where my brother works for himself as well, and he has some office space. I'm actually sitting in it right now. I've been recording in his office space for several months now. And so I also will be here several days a week because we have young kids. They're at home. And I can't record at home anymore. Writing at home can be difficult sometimes. So I will be 2 places and sort of in between. And so I think, obviously I will have my MacBook Pro, and that will still, I think, continue to be my main machine. But I think the iPad will be able to pick up some slack in some of that, like, hey, I'm just going to just take one machine and do my scheduling and stuff on it. And I've been using it more and more for research for articles, not writing on it as much as you do, Federico, but I think that will continue to grow as well. Like, hey, I'm going to, read up on these things we're going to talk about and do it in a little more relaxed way as opposed to right now where I'm cramming that stuff in while trying to, steal time from work or do a lot of things at once. So, but we'll see.
Nice.
Already iOS 9 has made my iPad more attractive to me as a multi-purpose tool, like having like Safari and Notes open and be able to read and like take notes on stuff. It's a game changer, and it's still just in beta. So I hope and I expect that the iPad will become more important in those sort of tasks. Not so much of I'm going to write a big article on it. Definitely not going to record on it, obviously, but having that as a more civilized weapon, I think will be good.
So I just wanted to mention your T-shirt again.
Yes, please.
Stephen is selling a T-shirt at teespring.com/512px. There's currently, as we record right now, 151 of these sold. And this is a really great thing because it's going to just give him a little bit of a kick, and it's also to help show your support for him. Here's something that I would really love the listeners of Connected to be able to do. So we're at 151
All right,
of these.
all right. Let's do this. How do I buy this T-shirt?
Go to teespring.com/512px. You choose the style that you want, Federico. We have a Teespring Premium, Teespring Women's Premium, or Hanes 6.1 long sleeve. You get long sleeve action in there.
My wife wanted a long sleeve shirt, so I added it.
I think I'm a man. So
that's pretty cool, actually. I didn't see the long sleeve one. Maybe I'll buy one of these. So you click the big Buy It Now button, and you fill out all that information. Federico, don't read your address on air. But this is what I want to task the listeners of Connected with. When we sold our Connected T-shirt earlier on this year, we sold 211 of them. I want you all to buy this shirt, and we end up with more of these sold than we did the Connected T-shirt.
Okay, I'm about to place my order.
Are you buying 100 of them? Because if you are, we're done.
Man,
Can you just buy 100? Just bill Steven.
That's not the way that works.
What kind of
not helpful.
can I buy 100? Of course I can buy 100 T-shirts. But what do I do? Can I sell them back like here in Rome? Like a black market of Steven's T-shirts? That could be an idea.
It becomes your Steve Jobs outfit.
Go to the Colosseum and just hand them out to people in the Colosseum.
No, I'm just going to buy one. I'm sorry, Steven. Okay, it's the black one.
I do wish you did a color, but I understand.
That's my address. That's my address here. There's a green. So if you listeners of the show, there's a green place your order thing at the bottom. You just click it.
You gotta click the place your order button.
Basically, there's a progress bar in the browser, and then thank you, and there's a smiley face with Steven. No, not really. There's just like a thank you message. And yeah, please go support my friend Steven because he's awesome and he's going indie. And we do love indie, guys and girls and everybody. We do love indie in general. So Steven is kind of okay as a person.
Mm-hmm.
No,
he deserves at least
at least a T-shirt, At least a T-shirt.
Maybe at most $20,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have paid more.
No, no way.
I was feeling so warm and fuzzy, and now
this is the best pitch ever. By the way, if you ever need me to pitch your T-shirts to the public, it's okay. Get in touch with me.
T-shirts as a service, TAS.
You have bought multiple pieces of clothing on air over the years.
Yeah,
like this is not the first time we've done this.
It's kind of a fetish that I have. I like to buy things on air.
Wow,
I don't know.
It's good. No, thank you guys. The T-shirt income is nice, and like Mike said, it's a little bit of a jump start. So yeah, that's very kind of the two of you.
Oh, by the way, Steven, the order is gonna be here by my birthday.
I know. I planned that.
Thank you. I guess.
It's been fun, and a lot of people have my email is crazy. A lot of email, lots of tweets, lots of messages. Like thank you. Like when I announced this on Monday, I actually had to close Tweetbot because I was at work. Like the irony of this is I this was all set up to pre-launch. Like I had everything scheduled, and I was actually in a meeting at work, and all of a sudden just Tweetbot and email are just going crazy. I'm like, because I'm still at my job. I have to close all this. I came back later and read through everything. So I was absolutely flattered and overwhelmed.
I'm just trying to picture you calling your wife and saying, hey, I'm famous on the internet.
Yeah, finally happened.
No, but seriously, that sounds awesome, Steven. You deserve all the... I mean, I've been telling you to do this, and I'm just so happy. And Mike, too. We're just so happy. And, kind of relieved because we kind of want you to do this. So
yeah. And I'm just very happy that we'll be able to both put more and more time into our growing company, and then that excites me.
And you do things on the iPad, so I'm also happy.
That's what Federico needed.
Yeah.
That's all I need. One more
Yeah.
person to convert to the iPad side.
Yeah. I do think the workflow conversation is interesting, and one I would like to readdress at some point. I know, Mike, you and Jason have talked about that on Upgrade a good bit, because Jason just did this like 9 months ago or so, 10 months ago, and it is an interesting transition. And I don't want to be too like retrospective about it on the air, but it is weird, and at the same time, like the what I do day to day, like it's all technology driven, and so it's applicable, I think, to this show in a lot of ways. Because these devices, I like to say, if people like are overwhelmed with computers or stuff, like having this conversation is like, this is just a tool. Like it's just here to make whatever task is at hand, easier and in some cases possible. So I think the way we use them in our jobs is a very interesting topic. And I think one, to tie back to iOS 9, like one I think that Apple's interested in, like they're making the iPad more useful to do work on for a lot of different types of people, and I think that's great. And yes, thank you guys, thank you listeners. Not possible without your support and faith in us. So, anyways,
I just wanted to offer a piece of iPad follow up for Federico.
Oh, what did I do?
No, it's nothing that you've done.
Okay.
I've been using my iPad every day.
Tell me more.
So I tend to be just doing things like reading Twitter and stuff, and maybe do a little bit of email or show research and things like that on it. But like the more I use it, the more I'm like, oh man, just please let me have my third-party apps in this split view. I can feel it. I could just feel it.
Yeah.
And also like the Notes app, right? That share extension is pretty good, right? I mean, and I know there are some other apps that do it, like Drafts does it.
Yeah, but it's not as visual, right?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. And
like when you save links, it's so nice.
So I'm, I'm thinking like that could be a really nice way to do the show follow-ups. And then I'm thinking like, but I don't want to start using the Notes app until I'm like on the beta on my phone. So I'm like, do I want to go to the beta on the phone yet? I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm very much enjoying using the iPad, and I do like using an iPad that has a bigger screen. I've decided. So just doing the traditional flip-flopping on the iPad.
Yeah. No, the Notes app is really good. I'm the same way, Mike. Like beta 3 is out today. I'm like, I wonder if I could put in my phone for notes. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm on my Mac a lot. Maybe I should go to El Capitan. Like, because of like Notes of all things, which I have made fun of for years. And it's still,
Yes.
that UI is terrible. Like, why is it still yellow?
Yeah, see, I don't know if I would be able to use it every day, though, and look at the crushed paper.
Yeah, that's
the joke, right? That's the comic relief feature. It's like it's there on purpose to, like when you're bored, or like when you're working on a document and you really don't want to, just look at the texture. And you're like, oh yeah, that's really funny. So you can continue to do work.
It's like, hey guy, I'm not a serious thing. I'm fun work. Look at me.
Yeah, that's my same problem with reminders, which is not powerful enough for me anymore. But like, it's the stupid sliding tabs that fly around. Like, I have no idea how to get from one list to another because they all just blew away in the wind. Like, why is the UI the way that it is?
Man, that would be great, right? If you could just blow into the microphone and then they all scatter about.
It's like index cards, like scattering across the desk. Like, well, I guess I don't have anything else to do because they're all over there on the floor.
The thing about reminders is that it's still a terrible app in many ways, the UI, the texture, but I mean, it is terrible, right? I mean, I don't know who's working on reminders. There must be like an intern in a closet just making the app. But anyway, there's this feature that I really like in iOS 9, and that Siri, you can say, remind me about this. And whether it's a podcast episode, that was one of my radars, by the way, whether it's a web page in Safari or an email message. So anything you're looking at, it can turn into a reminder. And especially for emails, that's really nice, because if I get a message and I need to do something about that message in 3 days, but I don't want to keep that message in my inbox for 3 days, I can just say, remind me about this on Monday. And when it's Monday, I don't need to search for the message. I don't need to keep the message in my inbox. I don't need to use something like Sanebox. And, these are the solutions that are great, like also Outlook has a similar feature. And I do like these features. But in most cases, I do want to keep a clean inbox. And in this way, I can just say, remind me. And when the time is, when I need to act on it, I can just tap the mail icon in the reminder, and I'm taken into the message with a deep link. And that's such a great feature, but it's the Reminders app. And so it's like a great feature with a terrible background. So I don't know. It's like you eat a tiramisu, and when you get to the bottom, there's like nothing,
Yeah,
Got really dark
so
all of a
often.
Yeah,
All those tiramisus that I eat.
It's weird. Just it's weird.
This week's episode of Connected is brought to you by Fracture. Fracture is a really great company with a super cool product. Fracture is transforming the way that people print and display their favorite images, and they do it in a way that I really love and I think is super special. 1 trillion photos, believe it or not, will be taken in 2015, and Fracture is there to help rescue some of your favorite photos and help you display them in a beautiful way in your home. It's really simple. You go to fractureme.com, you upload a picture, they will make an amazing print of your photo. But this isn't like, you're not going to get a piece of paper in a tube all wrapped up into a little tube and sent out to you. You're going to get your picture printed directly onto a piece of glass. This doesn't look like a picture that's framed either. This looks like something completely different. It is absolutely fantastic. It's like some kind of magic. I love Fracture prints. You get this lovely piece of glass that has your image printed directly onto it, and it looks just amazing. I have a bunch of Fracture prints of my own. I have some podcast artwork. I have some friends that have done for me. I've bought some. Stephen, I bought you a Fracture. Do you remember?
It's true. If it's the Relay logo, it's above my desk.
And you have some Fractures of your own. I remember seeing them in your home.
Yeah, we've got a big one in our bedroom of our 2 oldest kids, and we have various ones of the kids. The square ones, which are great. Like, you can just take an Instagram photo and it's already square. They're so great. They make great gifts. We really love them at our house.
So because Fracture prints, they've got their own kind of thing about them. It's like I call them Fracture prints because they don't really feel like photos in a frame or like pictures on a piece of paper. It feels like something completely different. It's a really, really awesome process. It's super simple to order. They package them really well. I've had them shipped from Florida where they're made. They're all hand-checked for quality by their team there. It's a very small team in Florida. I have them. They're made there, and they are shipped all the way to England. I've had like 6 or 7 shipped here. Not a problem with any of them. They put them in these believe it, they come in these great cardboard boxes. They're nicely protected with foam. It's really cool. They put everything you need in the box, so if you want to mount it on the wall, they'll give you all the screws and stuff you need. But the smaller ones, you can also get them to come with a little stand as well. You can get your Fracture prints in 5 different rectangle sizes that go all the way up to 21 by 28 inch. And they also have 3 square sizes that are perfect for Instagram shots, like Stephen mentioned, but also stuff like album covers and app icons and artwork of podcasts and music and stuff like that, which is really cool. Fracture prints, they make great gifts for family and friends, as well as just having some photos that you love displayed in your own home. And they start at just $15, so they're not going to break the bank. But furthermore, you can grab yourself 10% off your first order with the code CONNECTED, and it will also help support this show. So go to fractureme.com to get started and use the code CONNECTED for 10% off. Thank you so much to Fracture for their support of this show.
So we have some more Apple Music conversation. We've been spending more time with it. There have been lots of opportunities to use it and to break it and to love it and to hate it. How are you guys feeling a week more into this thing?
I really like it myself, but there's a bunch of things that are driving me crazy. But
Yep.
I also know that those things, like, they can be fixed relatively quickly. And I think the big picture excites me, but those problems are really they annoy me right now. I know that in the big picture of things they don't matter once they're fixed, but they're kind of clouding my judgment right now. Sometimes I cannot tap into the related artists, and because the app just basically stops working and I need to quit the app and relaunch it. Or there's multiple ways to share a song or a station or an album, and I don't know why there's multiple menus. the contextual menu is still too tall. Even on the 6 Plus, it's just huge. It's like a giant.
It's the entire screen. Sometimes
it's like a giant staring down at me while I'm listening to music, and it's like it makes me anxious every time I open this menu. It's like, whoa, like slow down, And
here's something that drives me crazy with the contextual menu, right? So I went in because I have my library, right? So and my library was full up with old iTunes purchases that I didn't want to see anymore. So as I was going through, there's a couple of things you can do. If an old purchase of yours is available in Apple Music, you have to hit the button remove from music or something like that, remove from Apple Music or whatever. Or if it's just been like iTunes matched, right? And it's just been uploaded and then re-downloaded, you have to hit the button that says delete. But those two buttons are in different places, depending on. So, like, if you hit the one and remove from music, it's like maybe the third from the top, and delete is like the second from the bottom. And it's just like why are they in different places? Why can't they just be in the same place? Because like I'm going through, I'm like delete. Oh no, wait, no, this one's up here. And it's like yeah.
The iTunes Match integration was really messy for me.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about like blowing it all away.
Yeah, so here's what happened. Before Apple Music, I was an iTunes Match subscriber, and I had like all my Oasis discography in there, like a bunch of albums from Block Party, Maximo Park, all these indie bands that I had the discographies a bunch of years ago, and I don't know why, but I decided to put it on iTunes Match, probably because I was testing iTunes Match. And I thought, yep, maybe I'm going to keep them on iTunes Match and I'm going to migrate to Apple Music and everything's going to be fine. Everything was not going to be fine because basically I ended up with all these albums in the iCloud Music library. But if I went to Apple Music and I didn't remember that a particular album was already in my library, I could see the plus icon to add it to my library. So I was like, okay, yeah, it's strange that I don't have this album already. So when I went back to my library, the album was there, only it was twice, twice the album, twice the music. So,
but like in one, I had it like so. I click into one album, and the songs are all doubled or tripled.
Yeah,
so
in one album, doing? Like number one and the number one and the number one. It's like 3 number ones. I'm like, why? And so I googled and I looked on Twitter, and it was a very common problem. So they basically say that there's this integration, all your music all in one place, but it's not really intelligent because it doesn't really match, it doesn't really match the music you have with the music that's on Apple Music. And I kind of understand the design decision, like it's your album and you put it there, but we also have the same album in Apple Music. But if that's the reasoning behind this, the implementation is totally wrong. So it makes me think that it's a bug. If it's not a bug, if it's a feature, well, it's really dumb. And so because I cannot fight, silliness without getting angry, I just decided to take the shortcut and I just wiped my iTunes Match. And I added back all the albums from Apple Music. And I'm still going through this process. But like I told you, I never actually browse my library. I mostly just use Siri or I search. So it's no big deal for me, but I can imagine like for people who are used to start listening to music every day by going to the library, like sitting down, okay, here's my library, I want to listen to some music, I go to A, B, C, and all the alphabet, the scrubber on the right, and then you pick the artists and you start listening. For those people, it's going to be a mess. If you use iTunes Match, I'm sad, I'm sorry, and it's just the way it is. Myself, I can just wipe my iTunes Match clean and but those other people, it's going to be a problem. That's probably why so many people are so upset about, iTunes, especially on the desktop and Apple Music. Like going through this experience that I didn't have last week made me realize even more why there's more people like Steven out there. So I kind of get your perspective more. But yeah, that bug was crazy. Other things that I don't like, I don't think the interface is confusing. That's one of the big themes going around. So there's some parts of the interface I don't understand, like the sharing menus, a bunch of interesting icons. The controls could be a little better, but overall, like the main pages or the navigation, or all the photographs for the artists, for the playlists. I do think they kind of bring some style, it feels trendy, it feels young as an app. It makes it lively, and I don't think it is overall a mess. There's some stuff that they need to polish and clean up a little bit. But Steven, I know that you strongly disagree with me here, so please tell me your angle.
I think just, as I said last week, I mean, overall, I think there's just a lot of opportunity for confusion as to what your music is doing, and I think it's only compounded. Like, they've had some bugs with iTunes, like you guys were talking about, like the duplication. Some people had like their metadata scrambled, which is terrifying to me. I think all that's fixable. Like, I totally agree with you, Federico. Like, it is all something that they can work on over time and improve. And I would hope that they start on that sooner rather than later. But I don't know. It's just,
here's a question that I want to ask you both. Would it be better to have a perfectly designed and functioning Apple Music with perfect sharing menus, perfect contextual menus, no bugs, no weird sharing system, all these perfect features, but in a very obvious music player with no human curation, no Beats One, no Connect? Or is it preferable to have like a new kind of vision with some initial bugs?
I'm happy with what we got in that scenario. I'm happy with what we got. Because I don't find the UI confusing either, but there are parts of it that I think need to be tidied up. But I think it's one of those things, like I've learned how to use it, and I feel pretty good about how to use it, and it's fine for me. But there are things that frustrate me that need to be fixed, and a lot of those are stuff that you've mentioned, Federico. But I don't find the overall interface to be confusing. Like, I go in, I either search for what I want, or I grab something out of my library, or what I do most of the time is I go to the For You tab, and there's always a new playlist that is always instantly exciting to me, and I just press play on it.
I mean, I think you can live in a world, I think Apple will get there, where you can have things like Connect and these other features, and the UI UX be more clear. Like,
but I don't think you can get that at the start. I really don't. I think it's too difficult to try and build something that's perfect in all scenarios, because people use things in different ways.
Maybe.
Yes, I made you disagree. I'm so happy.
I don't know.
No, I mean, it's. I guess it's a fair, like, from both perspectives, it's fair, because maybe like I'm trying to guess, Mike. Maybe like Mike and I, you would prefer to have new ways to listen to music, and some bugs that are not a deal breaker. But maybe there's also people like Steven are like, yeah, I really don't want my iTunes metadata to be, destroyed and all these other stuff.
I think it really depends where you're coming from initially.
Yeah.
Like, me and Federico want these new ways, so like we're happy with a trade-off. But if somebody doesn't want those new ways specifically, they're more frustrated when it doesn't work the way that they want. Like, is that fair to say? Am I speaking fairly for you, Steven?
Yes, I think so. And I'm not, like, I haven't washed my hands of Apple Music. I mean, I still have my trial. I'm just not currently using it. Like I said last week too, like, I am not, like, I don't really enjoy like listening to a playlist of a bunch of artists that I've never heard. Like, I that sort of music, like introduction, and it's just not, this doesn't work for me for whatever reason. And so part of that's lost on me just because of the way that I like and listen and explore music. But I do think they'll get there. I've got full faith that they can sort these issues out. There's been a lot of conversation too about offline mode. I mean, talking about in the chat room right now that if you go into airplane mode, it's iffy for some people under certain circumstances. What's locally available and what's not. And I mean, Mike, you shared your story a couple weeks ago about having that issue with Beats after you restored your phone and you had to re-download it. And so,
yeah, I'm still trying to go through to download stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my god. How many songs do you keep, Mike?
Oh well, no, I didn't actually go in until like today and set stuff to download. You know, I said
Okay.
like I had to try and replicate my library a little bit. Like I've only
Right.
just started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think some of that's inherent with any streaming service. Like people say that about Spotify and RDO and everything else. Like even iTunes Match. Like, oh, am I streaming or is it downloaded? It's not always clear. I think there's also the element of I wasn't sure the state of my, album before I put it in airplane mode. I think some of that's probably in the user space more than the technology space, but they'll get there. So,
So I just checked the app, and all the stuff that I set to download earlier has been downloaded. So I now just deleted Beats. It's gone now.
Bye Beats.
So one of the things that I really wanted to understand was the perception of people who don't listen to tech podcasts or people who don't read tech news about this idea of curation, like human curation. So I have a friend. He's a dance teacher here in Rome, and we were talking about Apple Music. He's kind of into, he stays on top of iOS updates because he wants to try the latest stuff. He just doesn't read tech blogs. So we were talking about Apple News, and he was like, "Can you tell me what's the deal compared to Spotify?" And I told him about, there's a radio worldwide always on.
Beats one.
Yes, but there's also this particular way of discovering new music, and there's people who like it. There's a front page, and you get recommendations made by the computer depending on what you listen to, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of like all these other services. And then I added, but there's also this team of experts, and they make the playlists on their own because they know music. And he was super intrigued by that. And the reason is because he's a dance teacher and he needs to constantly discover new songs because he uses the songs for the choreographies. And it was like, I always need to discover new songs, but I need to discover songs that I know are, somewhat related to my taste or my history, or that have some kind of relation to other albums that I have. And many times the recommendations by the computer fall short in that regard because I always get the same stuff. And so I explained the human creation, and he started using Apple Music. And just a few hours ago, he came to me and was like, the front page is really well done, and I'm getting all these playlists of stuff that I wouldn't remember otherwise. All these albums and songs and artists that I know myself, I just haven't been listening to them in a while. And I can tell that they've been made by humans because of the way that the songs are arranged, or like the themes of a playlist. You can tell that it's not being made by a robot. And I thought that was a really interesting kind of scenario for using Apple Music, and for like a practical implementation of the human curation. Like there's a person who needs new songs, who needs songs for a certain style, for some attitude even. So I don't think curation it's the kind of tech buzzword that you see on TechCrunch, and you see everybody's into curation, and there's big money flying around for curation. I think that it can have a really meaningful and practical effect. So it'll be interesting to see when the 3-month free trial is up, whether it's a feature worth paying for people.
I think that's the beauty of the 3-month trials, and I think my hope would be that they're collecting up some of the issues and would attempt to fix them before the 3-month trial's up, and that could be one of the reasons that they maybe wanted to leave it for as long as they did. So it's like 3 months, give us enough time to fix a bunch of stuff, and then people don't feel like they've lost out. That would be my hope. Would it have been okay for them to just slap a beta tag on this for the first 3 months?
Yeah, the beta is I guess as a kind of nerdy connotation. They kind of...
I could see why people would say it, because then you could explain it away, but then it kind of doesn't feel very, like, finished.
Yeah.
Like, you're admitting to it not being finished, and I don't know if that's a good marketing message.
Yeah, and especially, people have been saying iOS has been getting more and more bugs when a new version launches, and I don't wanna install more betas on my device. So what is this Apple Music beta? I don't want a beta. I just want my normal music app. So by not saying that it's beta, you get people excited about the new finished thing, even if it's not actually finished, because there's many things that you need to improve. But yeah, I think that's the reason why they do betas anymore.
Could we just quickly talk about For You? Because Joe Steele just asked me about this in the chat room. He asked if I was happy with the For You tab. And I really am.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my absolutely favorite part of Apple Music. And not because I go there and and I say, yeah, these people, they know their music. It's not that I go there sort of in reverence, of these people. I'm like, yeah, those are really experts. I go there, I'm just happy because I discovered all these albums and all these bands that I had forgotten about. And it's not that I had forgotten about them. It's just they're certainly in the back of my mind. And when I see them, I'm like, yeah, sure. Of course I want to listen to this. So the other day I was like, I opened For You and there was My Chemical Romance. And I love that band. I just haven't been listening in 2 years. And now I'm back into listening to their entire catalog. And this was just a single example. Every time I go there, there's a bunch of things that I don't like, but I can just say, I don't like this suggestion. And it seems to be getting better for me. Now, I listen to many types of music. So I think the more different is your taste, the more the more types of music you listen to, the better it gets. And it's not in the sense that because he recommends everything, it seems better. But I feel like if you listen to more types of music, to more genres, you have the opportunity of recommending all these crossovers, all these collaborations. And I feel like the system it becomes more clever when it knows that you're the kind of person who's not stuck on a single genre. And I don't know, I'm just very happy with what I get. And the recommendations, the explanations of the playlist, like there's a little history at the top that you can read. They feel really well made. And it's the primary section that I open every day.
So this is the thing. I feel like for some reason it's working for some people, not for others. So I figured I would just open Apple Music right now and take a look at it. Right. So I've got a playlist by Apple Music Alternative called I Wanna Be Yours. And I've clicked into it, and it's like indie, slow jams and love songs. And I've looked at the track list. There's a bunch of songs on here that I like, so I'm probably going to like some more. So I've literally just added that to my library. There's an intro to Muse. That'd be quite cool. There's a 2000s alternative workout mix, so a bunch of my favorite type of indie music from the 2000s period, like quick stuff. I like the sound of that. I've just added that to my music. Then I've got Oasis in here,
nice.
Jay-Z. I have a Kanye West mix, Pulp, Deep Cuts, Intro to Biffy Clyro, Green Day, The Verve, Paul Weller. Like, this is just like all the music I want. Yep. Now, I don't know if this helps, but I followed a bunch of stuff and curated a bunch of stuff in Connect.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that's something that other people have done, but and then what I also do is if I find a group like Apple Music Alternative that I like, I follow that. And I'm getting lots of suggestions from Apple Music Alternative, and Alternative seems to have the majority of music that I like, both like rock music and indie music and like a bit of hip hop and stuff like that, like all thrown into the mix, which I know is a bit peculiar as like one big bucket, but it fits my music taste really nicely. And so I followed that. I followed a bunch of artists on Connect as well as subscribing to stuff, and I have found that it has been absolutely fantastic for me.
Yeah, in my For You page right now, there's like 9 Inch Nails versus Soundgarden. So it's, this idea of mixing different artists in the same playlist. Very interesting to me. I have The Killers, Death Cab for Cutie, and then I have The Notorious B.I.G. and Tyga and Jay-Z. So a bunch of hip-hop, Kanye West, and then more indie rock. And, there's Coldplay, Arcade Fire, Vampire Weekend. So it's very punk rock. I have the Simple Plan album from 2004. I don't know. How does he know that I like Simple Plan? So yeah, it's very great mix for me. I know that there's people like Dr. Drang at an article today about, For You doesn't work for me. And I've seen many other people on Twitter saying that the For You tab is really not giving them the music they want to listen to.
And I don't doubt it. Like, I'm sure it doesn't work for everyone, but maybe there's more stuff that you can do to try and make it work. Like, you try and tune it, like using the heart functionality. You can long tap. Again, I don't know if people know this. Long tap on a suggestion in For You and say, "This, I don't like this." Follow people in Connect. Like, I don't know what it is, like, but I
just
expect
listen to music.
Yeah, I expect it's a combination of all of that stuff that helps kind of teach it, because you got to kind of teach it, and I think that might be it. And I think one of the reasons it's probably working so well for Federico is he was able to bring all his Beats history, but I wasn't, and it's still working great for me. And I haven't really bought music in a long time, so it's not even necessarily keeping up with my iTunes purchases. So it works really well for me. It works really well for Federico, but there are clearly people it doesn't work for. So, maybe there is an element of like needing to just kind of throw caution to the wind and jump in and try and play around with it and see what comes out of it.
No, maybe those people are wrong. Just kidding.
I'm not going to say that.
I'm just kidding.
You can say that.
No, I'm not. It was a joke. Please don't send us an email.
You're going to get a blog post from Papa Drang again.
No. I was just kidding this time. Please.
Take a break?
Yeah.
This week's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Hover, who are the best way to buy and manage domain names. And I say that with full conviction. I really mean that. If you want to buy a domain name, there's nowhere else you should go. Hover.com is the place to go, because they just make it so simple. I don't know why other people want to trick you and like just make things horrible and have a really terrible looking website when they're trying to sell you domains, but it seems to be like the overall trend in the industry. But Hover bucks that trend. They give you a great place to go and search. You can go and have a very simple, hassle-free interface that allows you to go in, search for the domain that you want. They have all of the TLDs you'd expect, like .com, .co, .me. They have all of the crazy ones as well. Anything that tickles your fancy, they're going to be able to provide it. And if the domain that you're looking for is available, you search a couple of words or you search the exact domain that you're looking for, you can just, within 30 seconds, you'll be out of the door again if you want to. Super simple. You can just go in, you can just select what you're looking for, tick this, tick this, tick this, I'll buy those domains, please, and you can just go through the checkout process. Super simple. They include Whois Privacy for free too, with all of Hover's domains that support it, all the TLD options that support Whois Privacy. Hover.com enable that by default for you. They give it to you for free. Their .com domains start at just $12.99. They have additional extras that you can add on if you want to, but they don't badger you with them. They don't check boxes that you have to uncheck. And this is stuff like custom email addresses. They do storage and forwarding on those as well. If you want to do that, you can add that stuff with Hover.com, and they have great interfaces and tools to help you set that kind of stuff up. They have great customer support as well. I love their email support. I've gotten great support from Hover in the past with that kind of stuff. They have great guides on their website as well that you can use if you just want to get a quick answer to something and you just want to check something out, maybe some MX record information and stuff. You want that, they've got great guides for that. But they also have no hold, no wait, no transfer telephone support. You pick up the phone and call Hover and you'll speak to a person, and that person's going to be able to give you what you want. You won't be transferred from department to department. They also have their valet service where Hover will switch your domains for free from your current provider for you. They have volume discounts for bulk domain renewal and so much more. You can go to hover.com right now and use the code teletext, that's TELETEXT, at checkout, and you'll get yourself 10% off your first purchase at hover.com and show your support for this show and all of Relay FM. That's teletext at checkout to get your 10% off. Thank you so much to Hover for supporting this week's show.
That's one of your best codes ever.
Thank you. I was proud of that one. It's like that time, like it was maybe towards the end of the month or the first of the month. I'm like trying to rack my brains, like what code can I use? And that was it. Yeah. Teletext. So Federico has another Apple Watch. So
yeah, I do.
We've got that going on.
So this one is the Apple Watch. The steel one. It's a review unit, so it's not really mine. but I get to keep it for a while, and I can test it. And I chose to the Milanese loop because I really wanted to. My reasoning was I want to try the band that's the most unique one. And I was intrigued by the, I remember the Milanese loop from the March event in San Francisco. It was the one that I got to try, and I was intrigued by the, I wanted to test the quality of the band in everyday life, and I was also intrigued by the magnet, the strap, the way it works. And so I'm the first week into this new Apple Watch. Two thoughts.
Just quickly, the reason that you have this is because it's just gone on. These have very recently gone on sale in Italy, right?
Yes. It's an Italian review unit, and I went to Milan last week, and now I have this Apple Watch.
Did you get the Milanese because you were in Milan? Is that why?
I got. Well, I didn't even think about this coincidence until a few people on Twitter told me, yeah, of course you got the Milanese loop. But no, I didn't really think about it. I was like, I did have a choice, but this one, like, I immediately knew that I really wanted to test this one. So two thoughts, like the first one is that the Apple Watch Seal looks much better to me than the Apple Watch Sport that I got. The black.
No, come on. I'm not having this. Federico likes it, right?
No,
what's going on here? Why are you
I was
fighting?
being judgmental. Judgmental because I own the Steel.
So Stephen is trying to claim victory that it's the best, but it is the one that maybe you both prefer. I have seen them, trying them on, seen a bunch of them, seen all my friends with them. I still, for me, prefer the look of the Sport.
Yeah.
It's a personal taste thing. You cannot claim categorical
it's fine.
victory.
You're just wrong, Mike, but it's fine.
Mike was wrong, 2015. Apparently, Mike is neither right or wrong. That's what I heard recently.
Hashtag Mike is neutral.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this product, though.
It's another show.
You can pick what you want, right? Like I, for instance, had tried the a bunch of different bands in the try-on. I like the Sport band and the leather classic buckle. Not everybody does. Like that's one of the nice things about this. Anyways, we derailed you, Federico. Sorry.
Yes. You should be sorry.
Wow.
No, I'm joking. I love you guys. The thing, it's a very stupid reason why I prefer the Apple Watch Seal, and that this is gonna sound so stupid. It's shiny. And
okay.
Yes.
I mean, we know that, right?
Yes.
Why?
And when I put the Apple Watch Seal on my wrist, I feel better because it's shiny and it's on my wrist, and the sunlight reflects on the Apple Watch, and I think it makes it precious. Like it makes it like a piece of jewelry instead of an Apple accessory on my body.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you already knew this. Why did you go for the Sport?
Well, because I wasn't sure about what I knew.
Right. Okay.
And then I got to try it, and I'm like, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
So next year I'm gonna get the Apple Watch Seal for sure. I mean, if it continues to look this good, I just like it. The way, like sometimes when I'm outside and I'm wearing the Apple Watch and I can see like the reflection on the steel body, I think it looks great.
See, whilst I still very much like the look of the aluminium, I have a bunch of scratches on my screen.
Yeah, Sapphire or get out.
Yeah, that's my annoyance right now. But I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a couple of months' time, and I'm just going to go in and pay the £50 for Apple Care and get it replaced. But because I already have Apple Care, so you pay the excess, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, this is annoying. But every watch I've ever had has had scratches on the face, and when the screen is on, I can't see them. But it's going to happen, because I walk into things.
Well, and likewise, the stainless steel body picks up scratches and dings, and
yeah. See, I don't have scratches on the body; I have scratches on the face. I don't know what's worse.
There's trade-offs with these, the materials they're using, and but again, like you said, the screen, like most stainless steel watches, stainless steel anything, get scratched and banged up and that sort of thing. So it just comes with the territory depending on which model you get, and you should expect some sort of wear and tear, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, the second thought was that the Milanese loop is very soft and it's very comfortable, and it's like I almost don't notice it. I do notice it when it's pulling my hair. And
okay.
it doesn't happen very often. It just happens like once a day.
It doesn't need to happen often, but when it happens, you notice it.
Yeah, yes. So most of the time, I thought, the first day I was like, yeah, this Apple Watch really feels heavier, and the sport band was really like rubberish, and it was really soft. And then I got used to the Apple Watch, and the weight difference, it's not really a problem. The Milanese is really soft. Sometimes it pulls my hair, and I don't know what the solution is. Maybe I should shave my arm, as people in the chat room are saying.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
You don't need to do that. It's fine.
So I think maybe that's just a, I mean, I should say, I haven't worn a watch, let alone this type of watch bracelet, in a decade. So it's probably normal that this type of bracelet pulls your hair, because it's just physics and, human beings and stuff. But it's no big deal. I mean, it's not like it's killing me, it's just a hair. So I can live with that. Just something that I didn't notice. The Apple Watch itself, thinking about it, what's really democratic in a way is that every Apple Watch works the same. And that sounds obvious, but so many times in fashion, when you buy the luxury or the more expensive version of an object, it also gets more stuff. Like you buy a bag that's more expensive and you get like more pockets, or you get like a different type of of any kind of accessory that makes it better, also functionally. And instead, the Apple Watch really, the software, it's the same, and it works the same way, and it looks different. So like this is something that we talked about many times before, but like going from the Sport to the Seal one, I appreciate like the way it looks different, but also the way it works the same. And that may sound totally obvious, but kind of came to my mind. And now what I'm not sure about, because I was at the beach, do I want to work out with the Milanese loop? I should probably.
No.
I feel like I don't want to,
Yeah. My worry would be that the magnet slips kind of down that band, and before you know it, your watch is just, loose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'd come off all the way, but I think it would definitely loosen. I don't know. Have you run with it? Have you done anything with it, or has it just been a thought so far?
Yeah, I cannot run, so
So do not.
No, like my physical therapist tells me not to run, so it's not like it's a choice; it's an imposition.
What about gesturing wildly while podcasting? Is it fun?
It's been fine. It's been fine for that
that's
tonight.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what people really want to know.
Yeah.
I still want to buy a Milanese loop.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, but my feeling is like I would wear it rarely, I think, because I really like the sport bands, and I feel like I would only really want to wear that band for like dressing nicely somewhere, and so I'm dressing nicely, so I put the Milanese on. So I haven't bought it yet because I'm just, it's like £130, which isn't too expensive, but it's still expensive. And considering I don't need it, like I'm just going to wait now until my next America trip and just take advantage of the conversion and just buy it there. So like I still plan on getting it because my feeling is that the watch band will last me a couple of years. Even if I change the watch, that's my feeling, right? Is that the watch bands won't be obsolete on the next watch revision.
Mm-hmm.
That's my hope, at least.
I think everybody's hoping that.
I think that would be really surprising and extremely annoying. I can accept the watch being replaced every couple of years or whatever, but I would like the bands to to go at least 2 revisions would be my thought on that. Anyway, so I'm happy that you like it, Federico, because it's, I've heard good reports, some mixed, but mainly good about it. But I also really trust your opinion, so I'm happy that you like it, because it's making me feel like that is definitely an option that I wanna go with, and I can live with the mismatch on the lugs. I know that Stephen can't, but I can.
I was gonna say, I'm the same way too. I bought the leather classic buckle, which is not as nice as the Milanese, but definitely nicer than either of the sport bands that I own. And I've only worn that band maybe twice, and it's very comfortable. I like the way it looks, like the way it feels. But again, it's sort of a dressier option, and I really cannot say enough good things about the sport band. Both the white and the black that I own are both great. They're different from each other, which is interesting, but. Yeah, I agree. If I had something nicer, like I've thought about, maybe not the Milanese. I'm not a huge fan of that look, but kind of halfway eyed the big metal. What do they call it? The
Link.
The Link bracelet. And I was like, I would wear that 3 times a year, and I can't justify it. But it's just nice. Like again, like we're talking about the material, it's nice to have options, and that's something that I think Apple has done very well with concerning the watch. Seemingly endless combinations of how you not only can what bands you have, but the watch face, and you can really make it your own. I mean, to come across somebody with the exact same watch setup as you is relatively rare at this point.
My final comment on the steel with the Milanese loop is that people definitely notice it more when I'm out. Like I can see people looking at the watch more. And like especially compared to when I was wearing the Apple Watch Sport, but still nobody has ever approached me, like strangers. And I feel like when I hear stories of people being approached by strangers, I feel like that's a thing we won't experience here in Rome, because everybody's really suspicious of everybody else. Like I never myself experience those types of moments of a stranger walking up to me and saying, "Hey, is that the new Apple thing?" Unless it's a friend or someone who I know. I never get the random stranger asking me about new Apple products. I feel like I'm missing out on a type of fun experience, but people are always skeptical, like they look behind their shoulder when they're working here in Rome. So no strangers asking about Apple products for me. It's quite sad.
Yeah, I've even had that. My watch came with the black sport band, but I bought the white one. And even between just the two of those, wearing the white sport band garners more attention. Again, like you said, I've had a couple people actually ask me, like a waiter and then someplace else, interacting with somebody, like, "Oh, is that the Apple Watch?" I feel like the black or the darker colors just kind of blend in better, whereas something bright, especially something shiny, catches people's eye in a different way.
Yeah, I don't get as many people mention it. I also don't leave the house very much, so I think that might be part of the reason. So if you're not seeing anyone, they can't ask you about your watch. It's not sad. I'm very happy. Very happy.
I'm happy for you. But you should leave the house sometimes.
I'm working on it.
Especially because allegedly it is a nice weather in London.
Yeah.
At least you said so. If you believe that, you should get up more.
Except for our misshapen sun.
Exactly. You get half of the sun, but that's fine. I mean, half of the sun is better than no sun. So go for it, Mike.
Are we at the end?
I hope so.
If you want to find the show notes for this week's episode, go to relay.fm/connected/47. Thanks again to our sponsors this week, Hover, Fracture, and lynda.com. You can help support the show by supporting them, and you can help support Stephen by buying a t-shirt. You can find links in the show notes. You should go and do that. If you want to find us online, Federico is at Viticci, Viticci on Twitter, and he writes over at macstories.net. Stephen is at ISMH, and he writes over at 512pixels.net, and I am at imyke, IMYKE. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Connected, and we'll be back next time. Until then, say goodbye, guys.
Arrivederci.
Adios.